Hello, I was just going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this for a while and see if I come up with anything. Hello, Lindsay. Hello, ETA. I just wanted to do a test on this and see how it goes, and if it gets too crackly, there is a part of the scan where there's a little bit of static bursts coming in. If it gets too much, I will turn it off and that, So yeah, we'll just give it a shot anyway. What we're looking at here is over here is a servo motor. I got to change it over to AM. It is getting very noisy. Instead of the usual tuning knob, what I've done was I've replaced this with a servo motor, and it is controlled by a control box here at the back and a switch, and I can change the speed of the scan by that control box. Right, is there anyone here that wishes to speak to us? Can you tell me how many spirits is here tonight? Can you hear us? Good enough, folks? I don't know what the sound is like. Is there anyone here that wants to speak to us tonight? Hiya, Brett. Hiya, Andy. Hiya, Becky. Lindsay, Jane, Ruby. I'm just doing a little test here. Can you tell us how many spirits is here tonight? I'll just put it on for a little while. I'll have a chat with you guys in a minute when I turn it off. But I'm just doing a little test, you know. Would you like to communicate with us? Basically, this is all controlled by a servo motor like this. Like that. Basically, it's a little motor like this that's installed right here instead of the tuning knob. And that's just controlled then at the back. And the speed can be controlled as well, you know. Can you tell me how many spirits is here tonight to speak with us? Hello, Gillian. Can you use this radio to speak to us? So there's spirits being mentioned there. Do you like this way of speaking to me? Philip and Caroline, hello. I'm just doing a little test on my radio here. I was going to do it private and I came on live by accident, so I will run this for a little while and then I will turn it off and speak to you all, you know. Can you confirm communication by telling me what color is the face on the front of this radio? Can you tell me a color? I know, I'd love to hear a reply as well. Very often when you ask for colours, you sometimes get the wrong colour. Hello, Rose. It'd be over funny when Wing did us. For those that just come in, this radio is an analog radio and it's fully controlled by this little motor that's in here instead of this tuning knob, and behind is where it's controlled here, and you can actually adjust the speed of the radio as well. But inside in the house here I have static interference, which isn't helping very much, you know. Can you come and use this radio for us and talk to us? I'm doing a steep up here. I'm holding the top of the aerial. Hopefully it might take away some of the static. Birds, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna turn this off. Is there anything you want to tell us? Anything you want to say? Thanks, Rose. Right, Spurts, I'm going to say goodbye. Can you say goodbye back to me? Right, I'm going to turn it off. Folks, hello. No, I just wanted to try. I just wanted to try it out, and that there is a few issues with static and stuff, so I will try and sort that out. But the best way of sort of doing a trial on that is actually going outside and going out into the countryside. I actually done I done a trial in Rachel's house, and it actually worked pretty well. But on FM, I seem to have that kind of a static burst there that I just don't like. I'm going to put the link up here if anybody wants to come on to chat. You don't have to come on camera if you don't want to. If you want to turn your camera off, that's fine. But just if anybody wants to come on the chat. Where's my flipping headphones? But yeah, I always wanted one of those motorized spirit boxes, and I've seen them. I seen a company, Paranologies, were selling them, but they were $800, and that was not including shipping. So, it was out of my reach. It was beautifully outside. It was beautiful outside. It was 3D printed. It was 3D printed in copper and that, and I had this motorized turn dial. So it was pretty good, but I couldn't see myself paying that much money for a box like that. So I tried to think outside the box and what would work, and I started looking through the internet for looking for parts and stuff, and I thought that using servos for remote control cars and stuff like that would work. And one of the ideas that brought me to that point was I was watching a video on model railways one night, and they had little buildings, and they wanted a remote control servo to open and close a barn door, and they wanted it set in a certain way. So they had this controller and they had this servo, so this door was going over and back and stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to pop on, and I wanted to give that a little try and that, and see how it went. Um, you know, but the link is out there, folks. If anybody wants to briefly come on or whatever, um, it's because I've nothing else. I had nothing else planned at this point in time. Hello, Rated Fam. Hello, Ruby. Orbs Realm. Hello, Jillian. Above Paranormal. Lindsay. ETA Paranormal. But yeah, it's one of these experiments that I'm doing at the moment, and it seems to be working very good outside in the environment, but actually not very good here. And I might at some stage try and get an adjustable servo, if you know what I mean, where the sweep goes further across, because at the moment it's only 2.5 a sweep, but I'm working on it. But yeah, um, um, I 2 days before Christmas, I actually have nothing done. I haven't been very well at all, so nothing done. But hopefully, I'm going to get out over the Christmas. Hopefully, if weather is in my favor, I'll try. You know, and next year, what we want to do is we want to go outside our comfort zone of investigations that are close by us, and go a little bit further afield to get very good locations. one of those. You need to get one of those fingers, Phil, found to decorate the top of the box, Sam. Uh, um, yeah, I hope you feel better soon, Gillian. It's yeah, I've been not sleeping very well lately, and because of pains in my legs and arms and stuff, and just not in the mood to do anything really. But hopefully, over the Christmas, getting into the new year, we will be doing more research at home to be able to go to locations rather than driving around looking for locations. We can do some of these researches at home, and we can go directly to the place, and it saves us an awful lot of time in that. So we're hoping to move a little bit more out of our comfort zone, and get new locations, because Ireland is full of them. You got plenty of castles, you got plenty of cemeteries, you got plenty of forests and stuff like that. And one of the next locations I want to actually do an old forest. I want to go to an old forest, and rather just than being sort of looking into the, which I've been doing lately anyway, is rather than having the blinkers on and assuming that we're connecting with the spirits of dead people. I just leave it as a broad, because we don't know what we're talking to. We could be talking to elementals or spirits in the natural environment, and that's the way I sort of see it now. I see it more sort of a possibility outside the stereotypical hauntings, if you know what I mean. But um, yeah, the last stream that I done, there was a big crash and bang at the beginning where my camera had fallen off my desk and the front of it got smashed. I managed to super glue it all together, but as a precautionary measure, I decided I'd order another camera because I think it is playing up anyway, you know, you know. But this time last year, on the 20th of December, we had 200, 300 subscribers on this channel, and now, a year later, it took me 300 to get, but it took me a whole year to get to a 300 subscriber mark, and now we've gone from 300 to 1,500 subscribers. It's been amazing. I wasn't expecting, I wasn't expecting that kind of growth, and that, and I do want to sort of deliver more on the investigation sides next year, because the support has been there. The support has been great. I don't know what that was behind me. It could have been a fly, but I seen something on this side here just coming up that way. But it could have been a fly. You know. Um, Thank you very much, Gillian. I was only expecting to get about 300, to be honest with you, because what we had started doing, we started off with I started off with the urban exploring, um, and because, and at that time I was looking at things like Ghost Adventures and Oh My Gosh and stuff like that. And when I started doing the urban exploring and that, I started coming home and sort of treating them as a paranormal investigation, even though I wasn't doing one. And I was finding that, some of there was voices being picked up on audio and stuff. And when I heard my first so-called EVP, um, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to it and I'm just getting the chills and I'm going, wow. So that's when, in March of last year, I joined a couple of paranormal groups that were explore or investigate in Cumber House, and there was actually a lot of activity that night. And all I had was a camera and a baby monitor. A baby monitor with a little black and white screen, a infrared screen, and a voice recorder, and that's all I had at the time. And ever since I left that investigation, I just started buying equipment, and for months and months after that, I was buying equipment and actually not using it in videos and stuff. So I started bringing in the spurt box and started bringing in small bits and pieces, like. But you know, it's been a there's been a lot of learning the last 10 months. It's been unbelievable, like and there was times I went out there and I says, all right, I don't know how to film using all this equipment. I can only do one thing at a time. EVP Paranormal Science, hello, how are you doing? Welcome. I'm sorry, I forgot to check. I forgot to check that on the channel to see was it blocked or not. I'm sorry. I will go through. I will go through that and try and sort that out. Um, you know, um, yeah. I mean, like what we want to do this next year is just concentrate on us, concentrate on the small communities and what they have to, what they have to offer, and that, and you know, solely solely concentrate on paranormal investigators that upload to YouTube. And that I'm not going to go any further than that because there's been a bit of drama in the last stream. I'm not going to entertain it. Anybody that comes on here that wants to create a bit of drama, it's not going to happen, no matter how high profile they are. I'm not entertaining it because a lot of the time some of these high um, profile channels will want to create drama to get more attention, and I don't know what it is in this case. I'm not pointing fingers, but I just don't want it, and that. So that's the end of that. Um, but what we have here at home, I don't need to buy any more equipment unless something fantastically new comes out. I don't need to. I need to capitalize on what I've actually invested in, since the March before last, because we're not using it to the best of our ability right at this moment in time. And that's what we want to try and do. And we want to try all sorts of new things and that. And, you know, um, Rachel has been a brilliant help in that. But it's been a great journey, and the support that you have given us here on this community alone has been absolutely fantastic. I haven't been doing very many lives and that, and it was more premieres and that, but it was a time for those kind of communities to come together and that, and that's what I like. I like the small communities because everybody starts to know everybody else, which doesn't happen in these other bigger channels. Um, you know, uh, no fault to those other communities, but I just like this. I like the small communities because I know everybody that's here. Her investigation with Rampart Rachel. Yes, what's happened at the moment is Rachel is as far as I know, Rachel went home to for Christmas and that, and she won't be available until after Christmas and that. So you know, um, I was kind of getting bored. I was kind of getting bored of filming on my own and that, and Rachel was a great addition to that. The other thing about Rachel is when she goes home, she doesn't look at paranormal content. She looks at her own what she's interested in. She does investigations with me completely separate and not influenced by anybody else, so she doesn't know. She may have seen she has seen Ghost Adventures a few times and stuff like that. But other than that, she is not. She's got nothing that's influenced her from YouTube or the TV or anything like that. And it's in a way it's a very good thing actually. And a couple of investigations in, Rachel asked me, could she use a camera? And she went into different rooms in the location of a Dunry Fort, and she was going down the other end of the room and looking around and calling out. And what she was doing was just pure and utter natural and very, very good. So that's why when she comes on now, I give her a separate camera. And that is why when we went to Sharon Rectory, there was a separate video made from her camera because she actually had gone to one or two places where I actually didn't go to, and it turned out very, very good. Hello, Shaz. Um, but um, you know, the last year has been actually a big growing thing. You see paranormal tech there in the chat. I went to a place called Lima Valley Workhouse, which I got information from a Ghost Hunters International who went to Lima Valley Workhouse and that. And what I done was one of my first sort of attempts at an investigation. I brought my Spurt box there and got absolutely fantastic responses there. And Philip wrote in the comments, when you're in that little park, you should have sat down and got your REM pod out. Bring in something else into the investigation rather than just having the Spurt box. And I was sitting at home reading this comment, and then I says, I need to do this. So after reading the comment, I got my jacket on, I got my stuff, and I went out. I says, I'm going to try and do this and that. So I went from just doing a Spurt box session. I brought the Spurt box and the REM pods with me and the EMF detectors. And I went to the abandoned hospital in Derry and that. And it sort of increased bit by bit from there, But it's very, very often the last number of investigations where, we've taken cases of equipment into a location, and it wasn't appropriate actually to use a lot of that equipment because we were getting direct responses on the camera and direct responses that we could hear with our own ears. So in that occasion, that's when we didn't use equipment because we were getting responses that we were hearing and seeing anyway, and we brought equipment into that equation. What would have happened was we wouldn't have listened out as much, certainly, in that kind of a situation, a voice recorder would be good, and that's what we did. But we weren't going to start taking out all this fancy equipment when the activity was direct to us. We could hear it already. Hello, Sandra, and hello to Greg, Irish Whiskey Paranormal. Thank you for joining us. I started off with a little Spurt box session with this. I was trying out my box here, and I started off, and I was going to do along and let the Spurt box run and that, but I just decided, back it, I'm going to talk to the people who come on. You know what I mean? But yeah, what we have at the moment, we have something like four or five different camcorders, and when we go into a big location anymore, we're going to be using some of these as static cams. And what we got on them as well is little small adjustable little REM pods or tripods and that So they can be dotted around the building, and that's one type that I've got, which I think they were £17 in that, and this is the other type. And those legs can actually extend as well. So you got that length, and you got a little bit more than that. They're not huge, but the thing is, with that kind of REM pod, or with that kind of tripod, they don't take up a whole lot of space when you're going out to investigate and that. And you can actually use these as a handle if you wish. So that's what we that's why I bought these little ones, so I can put them on the ground, or I can put them on a ledge, and I can turn them whatever way I want. And it can keep an eye on parts of locations that we're not in at that moment in time, sort of thing. So that's our night vision, and our that's our night vision, and our sort of it will keep an eye in different places, because sometimes you go into one room in a location, the room that you just came out of, it starts kicking off, and you're actually in the next room, and that. So um, a lot of the investigators you would have seen in early TV, they would have used a lot of cameras around the location. It's a bit of a pain in the backside when you go home, because you have to go through all them cameras, but it's worth it, I think. Chat is that bit of leg, a big fat leg, you know. Uh, Lindsay and that. I really enjoyed the investigation last night. And it must have been pretty uncomfortable sitting there with the rain hopping down on top of you on Big Red. When I'm in town, I actually get to use one of those Big Reds. They're called Pride, I think they're called, and there's good power in them actually. Because the one that I have is the one that dismantles and goes into the back of the car. But I've stopped using it because they're very heavy to get in and out of the car. You know. Um, does the kitten still hate me? Yes, absolutely. It it possibly was kind of semi-wild in the first place. Now it'll relax and lie around on the couch and that, but the minute I go over it, it's gone. The dog is a completely different story. The dog can come in and it won't pass any remarks. The minute I get up, and even no matter how gentle I come over to it, it's just gone. You know, it's a beautiful kitten actually. It's pure grey, um, but it just does not like me at all. It's not affectionate in any way towards me. It's affectionate towards the dog, but not me. You know. So I haven't been able to handle it very much at all. I have handled it a bit, and it has calmed down. But when I first discovered the kitten, and that it was hissing and spitting and snarling and stuff like that. But has got out of that. I have carried in that, but it just does is not comfortable with me holding it. It's actually very hard to catch. You have to wait till it's asleep and then sneak up to it without making any noise at all, and then just grab it. You know. Uh, Cat kitten, and she was same until she hit 5. Yeah, I mean, like, I had a kitten, and it was possibly feral. It was really, really bad. And actually, where I was living when I was living in the Republic of Ireland, a kid used to come over and play with the kitten every single day,. And that sort of helped. Pups. No, I don't have any more pups. I was going to keep one, But because I'm in an apartment, I just decided, and sometimes I'm sick. Um, it was kind of disrupting the routine, and it was getting a little bit hard to manage. So a friend of mine or Rachel's friend, a friend of Rachel's, took the last pup that I actually was going to keep. So I decided to give it up, and Rachel said she knew exactly where to send it, and it went out to a house in the middle of the woods, that with farmland and stuff like that. And apparently, it's very very happy now. It was okay, Sam, to start coming down in the end of this heavy. Right, I don't go onto Facebook very much, but I must have a look at some of those screenshots that you done from that was sent in from the laser vortex. I was actually trying to make one this morning, and I actually accidentally poured a little bit of too much super glue onto the top of the fan motor, and it went down inside the motor and seized it. So I have to get more motors, you know. I seen that one. Facebook link. I can't do it right here and that, but I got two pages. One is a group, which is Life Afterlife TV Productions. One is a page, and it's Lone Star Explorer TV, and that was the name of the channel. Um, this time last year, I only changed it just before Christmas last year, and I decided I was going I was going to go from what I was doing to real paranormal investigating. So I sort of revamped the channel, rebranded it, and stuff like that. So, but I couldn't change the word. I couldn't change the title on the page. I tried and tried. I can't seem to do it. It probably is easy, but I can't do it. So that's why the old name is still on it. But there is a Facebook group. If you click onto that, I'll accept you. And every I don't be on there that often. Very often when I put up a video, I'll put it out. Sometimes I don't say anything. Sometimes I do. And then people like Anne Rees, when Philip comes on, she will post a video. Other groups posted videos, like the group I sometimes work with, which is Peninsula Paranormal Group. I want to thank them because I've learned an awful lot this year from them and that. And then we have Carrickfergus Paranormal. They sometimes post on it as well. So we've got Northern Ireland groups that post on that, but anybody can post their stuff as long as there's not too many of these memes and silly things. Um, I've seen other pages, paranormal pages, where they're just putting up scary pictures. I wanted to get away from all that, so we wanted as paranormal as possible and down to earth as possible. You know, so I'm not that fond of the scary pictures and stuff like that. But if it's extra funny, it's okay, sort of thing. To Sammy, if you came over here, where would I most like to investigate? I haven't a clue. I don't know. You're waiting for me to say 30 East Drive, and that's not going to be the case. Because if I wanted to do 30 East Drive, what I would do is I would go in there and I would have cameras all over the place and just treat the house like a house and see what happens. But it's everybody seems to go there, and that I don't know. I was in East Grinstead last year, and I didn't bring an awful lot of equipment because I thought I would have some issues in security with having little black boxes with lights on them. So we got to have a walk around there, but I reckon there's an awful lot of history in that town itself, and some of those buildings would have possibly been very, very good and that, But very often it's the high profile destinations. I'm not attracted towards them. You know what I mean? Because everybody else is doing them. You know? Yeah, we have loads and loads of old cemeteries and stuff like that, and I don't mind doing an odd one, but it kind of depends on the weather, and between here and Greencastle, there's been a few, and there's one where there's a leg bone inside one of these little. It's a little building, and it was actually to cure illnesses. What they would do, it's a building, and the whole roof and everything is all made from stone, and they pile up turf on the outside, and they burn it, and that the person inside, it sweats out illnesses, if you know what I mean. What do you call it? It's a hot. I don't know what the exact term for it is. It's kind of like a hot box where it sweats out, so sweat out illnesses and that. But there's a leg bone about that size inside in the thing, and the first time I seen it, I was freaked out, and I was outside of the car taking a break, and I'm saying, "Jeez, I don't know if I can film this." So I was talking to one of the locals who was stopped off at the graveyard, and he says, what's with the bone in the inside in the thing? Oh, he says that's what the thing is, a human leg bone. I says, oh, why is it still there? Oh, nobody wants to touch it because they don't want to be haunted when they get home and stuff like that. So it's just always been left there and that. But the locals all know about it and that. As a first time being there, I looked at, I said, oh, we have a proven demon situation here. And I said, oh, God, no, I don't, it's the first time I came across that kind of a situation, but it was one of the worst graveyards I've ever seen. There was a couple of gravestones. They were so smashed up that when people were trying to get information, they were putting them together on top of tombstones like a jigsaw to try to get out information, and it's just a shame, and some of these tombstones had collapsed and split in half, but nothing was ever done to replace any of that stonework or anything like that. But apparently, you go into the local village and you could get a map, and everything is set out on pegs, and all the information on the graveyard is there and that. But the way some of these headstones had been smashed up and stuff, it was very hard because I never seen anything as badly damaged as that particular cemetery. You know what time are we? 8 o'clock. In an hour's time, I think it's an hour's time. Brett is on with his Sunday card reading thing, so that's above paranormal. Uh, at 9 o'clock, if you wish, go over there. It's usually very, very good, and then afterwards, we just have a discussion and stuff like that. It's usually very, very interesting. The live streams from above paranormal have been very, very good this last while. I think things are picking up an awful lot on that channel. It's very, very good, and the fact that sometimes when he comes up with topics, the conversation turns really, 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 very, very interesting conversations and stuff like that. You know. Mm, Yeah, yeah. Um, when I went to East Grinstead last year, it wasn't a sightseeing trip. I had to go to a hospital and that. And it was the first time I had seen buildings with wood frames on the outside, like the Georgian or the Victorian or whatever you call them. And we were astounded. Like it was like being in a film set. And East Grinstead itself, it was such a picturesque town. I mean, like up at the top of the town, you had rows and rows of flower beds, and just pure another color the whole way up the street. It's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. You know. Um, but I would have loved to have got into some of those buildings and that. And we just all we done was we went into a grounds of a church, and we had a look around, and I turned to Rachel. I says, "Well, we have a Spurs app on our phone. Why don't we try and use it?" And it was one of Appy Droid's apps, and I don't think I done it justice because I wasn't quite sure what the settings were and things like that. So we made a bit of a mess of it. But the reason why we didn't bring equipment was, I didn't want to get hassle at the I didn't want to get hassle at the airport. I'm not used to flying. I just don't know the ins and outs of it. But if I went through security with something like this, would there be sort of major issues? You know, um, because to an ordinary person that doesn't know anything about the paranormal, that looks like a very dodgy looking device. To be honest with you. East Grim, oh, just up the road from East Grimstead. Where I was before was, and I wasn't in the mood to film. We went for another hospital appointment. That was in Brighton, in Brighton. And when I was in Brighton, I actually wasn't doing a videoing for YouTube. Um, I was doing an odd little clip for on Facebook and that. And I wasn't getting very much views. Thing is, on Facebook, I found that if you had some drama, everybody would be drawn to it. But if it's ordinary, everyday stuff or something that you put your heart into, you're not getting a response that if you put up some drama and that. And I seen on a lot of my friends list and stuff like that, they were just chucking out drama all the time, and that's why I don't go on Facebook very much anymore. You know. But yeah, East Grinstead was brilliant, and um, I would have loved it at the time filmed in Brighton and that, but I wasn't doing this at that time. Yes, I did see the video where you were in that building and that, and I was kind of wondered if, do you live near there? You must live near there, and that. But it was a couple of years ago since I've been there. I've only been there once and that. And to be honest, when I travel that distance and I go through airports and stuff like that, I have to have somebody with me because I just fall to pieces. I've got social anxiety, so I'd have somebody with me all the time. Yeah, the Facebook groups. Some people they use Facebook, and they started off on Facebook, and that's where the fan base, their community is around in that. You know, Lindsay and ETA Paranormal. I think they possibly started off with Facebook and that, and then went to YouTube. I don't know. Um, but they still use Facebook to do some lives. They'll be doing lives on Facebook and stuff like that. But I just found when I went live on Facebook, nobody really cared. You know, and I'm getting more. There's more of a community here on my YouTube channel than there is on Facebook. Having said that, I don't pay much attention to my Facebook. If I put out a video, I'll put it into my group or I'll put it into my page, and that's about it. Yeah, we use both platforms. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like if you started off on Facebook and went to YouTube and that, it's a good idea to keep the both going. And then um, someone Facebook, someone YouTube. So some of the ones from Facebook will go to YouTube, and some of the ones from YouTube will go to your Facebook, and that and it kind of works both ways. But it hasn't worked like that for me, at the moment, and that. But I have 15 people here, and I have nothing to say. Live on Facebook from a group. I think you can actually, yeah. I think. Yeah, a lot of these people that are on YouTube, they do Instagram and these other things and Twitter and stuff like that. I have an Instagram thing, but I don't know how to use it properly. And I haven't used it in a long time. I set it up and then I didn't know how to use it. So it's been sitting there with very little on it. Yeah, you know. But yeah, it's yeah, and during the year, I bought some of these supposedly haunted items and stuff like that. I'm still sort of working on that. It's not that I abandon it or anything like that, but it is kind of sometimes a little bit of a it's a bit of a controversial subject, if you know what I mean. Some of these paranormal people, they try to get some of these haunted dolls famous so they can get the attention and stuff like that. But I want to find full truth in all of this, and what what what's involved in a, a possible attachments to objects and things like that. I have a lot of questions as well. I have a lot of questions around the famous haunted dolls and stuff like that. Where a lot of these have a history but don't have a present, if you know what I mean. They have a history of famous stories of famous happenings around Robert the Doll or Annabelle the Doll and stuff like that. We don't hear very many stories of things happening at present, that kind of way. But we have had some orb activity, energy ball activity in the house, but I can't put it down to any one thing, and it could have been present before I took any of these items in. So I can't nail it down to any single one thing. But one of my dolls where I never mentioned the name that attached to the doll. We've had that name come up on a spirit box without me prompting it. What I do is sometimes when I do a spirit box session, I don't mention the name or anything like that. See will the name come up, and it has come up. I have a doll here, and it's called Molly, and that I did buy it off eBay, and that with a bit of skepticism, but it's had some interesting results around spirit box. um, where I didn't mention names. Done a number of Spur Pops sessions, and I just said, "What's the name attached to this dog?" And just kept getting Molly and that, which is very very interesting in that. So I'm not 100% ruling out more work with those. I probably will try and do some of that, but a little bit more skeptical on that point because people are claiming very very elaborate things happening and possibly for attention purposes. You know, you're not going to have dolls running around your house and disappearing and appearing and well, not in my experience anyway. Naturophonic, yeah, that's Keith Weldon's. you know, I have been very close-minded, and I had stayed away from things like Netrophonic for the simple fact that Keith Weldon was a very good friend of Mr. Huff's, and that might be putting the blinkers on. It possibly, people are using it. It's very, very good. Um, you know, um, Keith Weldon possibly is a nice guy. I shouldn't be judging him on the company he keeps. But I was a bit suspicious because of his connection with Steve Huff and that. But if it works, it works. You know what I mean? Um, Behind it all, he could be very, very passionate about the paranormal. They seem to be, and that, and putting the Huff thing aside, people put work into these kind of ITC things, and it shouldn't be ruled out. Um, and I might get it myself. I don't know, but I'm not an app person, if you know what I mean. I like using my radios. But I'm not close-minded that I won't use it. Try and use some of this stuff in the future and that. But at the moment, I'm sticking with my radios. Do you have a lot of haunted items, Sam, in your house, in your home? Um, that's a difficult question to answer. Actually, I have some replicas. I have some items that um, are claimed to have haunted attachments, and I have some items that I believe possibly has energy attached to them. So we have three, four different layers there. So it's getting around all that, and possibly doing a little bit more after Christmas on the side around possible attachments, objects, and stuff like that. Um, Sometimes people love the dolls and stuff like that, and other times people just, oh God, they're not going to take me serious because I've got this haunted doll and the thing, and I was thought I was going to get a bit of stick about it, but I haven't. I haven't. But the thing is, I'm not going to make massive, large claims that some of these items are haunted when I don't have any proof on it. And what I'm looking for is actually hard evidence. I spent a lot of money on some of these items, and some of these items you probably see in the background here on my this side. They're in little glass cases to protect them from dust and stuff like that. And some of these things some of these things aren't cheap. Some of the stuff is cheap, some of it isn't. You know, and we have other items which. Yeah, I'm surrounded by them all the time. I have a glass case right over my computer, and the bridal doll is around just around the corner from the computer. And the bridal doll actually puzzles me because if you are too close to it for any length of time, people were getting headaches. It was both myself and somebody else when we went to pick up the item. They both of us had chronic headaches that night, and I had headaches on and off. And can I fully say it was the doll? I can't 100% say that, but it was interesting at the same time. So I might look into more work like that after Christmas. But it doesn't. You can't just put an item on the table. Guys, we're going to work on this today. We're going to put the EMF detector out, and we're going to put the spirit box, and we're going to ask is there something attached to this item? It's usually you need these items in a room. You need your camera on for a long time, overnight possibly. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. I think it takes a lot more work than just sticking on the camera and putting the doll in front of the camera and saying, guys, right, we're going to do a spirit box session. We're going to have set up equipment around it and see if it'll react. Sometimes it happens in that, but I think to get an overall picture, it needs to be done long term, and sometimes you need to spend a long time filming when you're there and when you're not there. You know. you know. Folks using crystals, I have crystals myself. Um, I don't know an awful lot about crystals, but I do have sensitive hands, if you know what I mean. And I can, especially big crystals, when I go and touch a big crystal, I'll get this tingling sensation up my fingers. There is energy being produced in these crystals. How it's done, I do not know. Um, and you know, we put devices around them, and we can't measure that energy. But I know for a fact that the energy is there, because if you get a big mass of crystal and you go into a crystal shop, you get some of these big crystals and they're hundreds and hundreds of pounds. But if you put your hand close to it for a little while, you'll get this tingling sensation on your hands. And they are producing energy, and there's more people out there that are sort of, they know all about crystals, and certain crystals have certain qualities and stuff. I don't know if the Pacific crystals, they're all different. They say they've got all different properties. Whether it's been sort of anyway proven scientifically, I don't know. Is it more spiritually um that they believe that certain crystals have certain qualities, or what? I don't know, but I do know that crystals are producing uh, some sort of energy. But when you think about it, the earth itself does produce a good EMF. It just does produce EMF energy, and very often, people they're actually saying now that people with fibromyalgia possibly are suffering from a lack of EMF. Now, EMF from your electrical devices is bad EMF, but natural EMF is good. It balances the body. You see, the thing is, we now are, we're living in cities sometimes, and we're living in tower blocks, living in apartment buildings off the ground and stuff like that. When we travel around, we get into cars with tires on it. We're not connected with that EMF energy and that. And that's why sometimes, even in the wintertime, I will go to the beach and take my shoes off and walk around in the sand for a while to try and ground myself. And that's what it's called, grounding yourself. Like in an electrical sense, grounding electricity. And there is natural EMF in the earth itself, and that there's healing properties to that. It helps your well-being in that, and not having enough EMF, which I'm probably suffering from, um, you know, can make you sick, can make you unwell. So every so often I do go out to the beach and take my shoes off and that, because the natural EMF, and you know these crystals possibly have that EMF as well. How it's producing it constantly, I just don't know. I don't know. And people are saying, you put them in water or you put them out in the moonlight to charge them. Is this energy coming from the sun or the moon? Possibly, yeah. Once a week to ground yourself. Yeah, I haven't been out in a while now, and it shows. It really does. It really does. Um, because when you think about people that live in cities and that, they live in apartment blocks that are a couple of stories off the ground, and we're surrounded by just concrete and stuff like that. We get into cars, the tires are an insulator between you and the earth itself. And to go out and take your shoes off and ground yourself to the earth, you will feel a lot more. It does do well for your well-being, every so often, to ground yourself to that natural EMF. You know, I actually have a friend who has a machine that that's supposed to produce natural EMF. It's a kind of a mat, and it costs about £4,000. And every so often, I go on that, to try and deal with some of the ailments that I have. I agree. My garden is my haven. I wish I had a garden. I used to have a house. I had a couple. I used to. I lived in a couple of houses. Some of them were out in the country, and I kind of miss that in a way because I'm 2 stories up on the outskirts of the city. But could be worse. Could be right in the city. I'm near enough to the countryside. But the thing is, all around me used to be fields when I moved in here first, and it's just been buildings or more and more houses. And what to try now is to try and build as many houses in the smallest piece of land as possible for as much profitability as possible. When I hold malachite, a burning malachite. What I found is when you hold a crystal, you'll get this kind of a slight. It's not. It's like a pins and needles, but and a kind of a little tingle and stuff like that. Um, but I've seen people that are into crystals, and if they have this crystal formation, and if you incorporate certain crystals close to each other, these crystals can heat up and crack. I've never seen it happen, but I've heard about it a lot, where they have, I don't know what you call it. It's a crystal. It's a crystal circle or a crystal formation that they do on a table. When they go to meditate and stuff like that. But certain crystals, in certain situations, if they're close to each other, they sometimes heat up and crack. Um, I've seen stories with some of these people that are into their crystals and stuff like that. It's a fascinating thing, but the energy actually, you can't put an EMF detector up to one of these crystals and get measurements and that. You you just you just have to feel it in your hand itself. And very often when if you put the crystal like that, and if there's enough energy off it, and you put your hand over and back, you'll start to you'll start to feel that little. You'll hit it just as you're passing it, and you'll feel this little kind of a. It's like a little wall of energy. You'll feel it when you're passing your hand over and back on it. Um, I don't know if everybody can do. Everybody can feel that, but sometimes I can feel that kind of energy if I go into a location and stuff like that. Sometimes I don't even mention it on my videos and that, but you can go in. Sometimes you can go in and you can just all of a sudden you come across this wall of energy and you put your hand in and out through it, and you just feel this kind of a little bit of a little tiny bit of a resistance, if you know what I mean. It's very hard to explain, you know. Punching down a burger. Yeah. The harder you squeeze quartz, the more electricity is generated. Interesting. But yeah, sometimes I would have some of them tumblestones in my pocket, and I'm not feeling the best. I sort of, I might sit in front of the television and hold one of these in my hand for a while and try to get that naturally EMF and that. But as I says, I do have a lot of crystals and stuff like that, but I haven't fully gone into it yet. I started off. I was watching the White Witch Parlor, which got me back interested in crystals. Mars bar. Mention the burger to make us all hungry, you know. But yeah, it's the dog is squealing about something. What do you want? What's wrong with you? Do you want to stick? Do you? Keep it quiet. Sweeties, report. Here you go. There you go. So keep them quiet for a while. Keep them quiet for a while. You know. But folks, I'm 19 in the chat, and I have absolutely feck all to talk about. You know. I thought what I was going to do was going to put the spirit box on front of the camera and just let it run and see what happens and that. And then I just thought, you know, a lot of people are just. I've seen a lot of people in the past, and they decide to go live, and they'll just go live, and they'll just have a spirit box for about 8 hours, and that just to get some watch time. I don't want to do that. Do you know? I want to interact with you guys. I just thought maybe when I had the radio set up and right in front of the camera, and I thought, you know, I'll just let it run and see what happens for a couple hours. And then I seen people came on. I says, you know, it's not going to look good if I don't say hello or start talking and stuff like that. So that's why I had to sort of ditch the spirit box and that. But it's an interesting concept to, you know, the usual way of hacking, which would be cutting a mute wire to have the little motor, you know, spinning over and back and that. And if there's a grounding issue in it, I'll sort it out, and it might take away the static, you know. You know, another interesting possible experiment is some sort of a Faraday cage, and I think the S box might be a good candidate for that. I did try a spirit box session in the oven with the S box, and it seemed to have cut down that static a little bit. So it might work, you know. Yeah, I put the S box. I connected an amplifier cable to the S box. Put the S box in the oven and connected the cable to an amplifier outside the oven and that. And it was a little bit clearer than that, you know. So maybe you know, a little bit experimenting around sort of little Faraday cages or something. It might help things a bit, you know. Yeah, that was, you know, if I went on the internet, I probably would have got it cheaper. But that actually was a door knocker, and I cut the knocker off, and I didn't cut it fully off, so there's a little bit hanging there because I thought it would slide out and that, but I need to cut the rest of it off. But you know, the Green Man, or I didn't even know anything about the Green Man until Andy told me about it. You know, because I didn't want to decorate my box with crosses and all that kind of stuff like other people do in that. I just wanted to sort of have a more of a nature kind of a thing to it, and I actually bought a incense stick holder. I bought this incense stick holder with this man on it, and I thought, could I incorporate this into the box? And when I took it home, I felt I couldn't really, you know, because it would just, this here would be a little bit of a vulnerable spot and it might break and that. So I'm just using it as what it was intended for, but it was intended for a different purpose, you know. But yeah, and I thought it would have been a bit of a waste to start cutting it up, and possibly make a mess of it, you know. He's got creepy doll eyes. I know people are saying that, all right, yeah, but uh, creepy doll eyes. The black, yeah, it is a bit all right, you know. But yeah, I didn't want anything scary on my box, because I just don't want to have anything associated with scariness, which is often associated with the paranormal. I think it's sometimes it's just it's a bit too much, you know. Paranormal Sam and do comedy for everybody. I was actually going to. I had a somebody had given me a puppet, and I was going to do little puppet shows on the paranormal sort of thing, and I was going to have the little puppet and that, and then the COPPA FTC came in and about this child online protection thing, and I thought at the beginning, oh, is that going to affect it and that, but apparently when something like that happens, there's a big massive hysteria, and there was, oh, I'm going to lose my channel and stuff like that, and it's people reacting before they know the facts, and it's not as bad as people had first made out it to be. There's a question here from what to over Christmas. Over Christmas, I've been trying to avoid Christmas. Um, I went over to the shop and I started getting in a few things, and I was going to make myself a Christmas dinner anyway. Um, but I want to get past Christmas Day sort of thing and just get out and investigate if I possibly can. Just get back to normality, and getting out and doing things would be past my normality lately because I haven't been out very much. I went out and I done the school for an hour and a half. For the last video, that's not a massively long investigation or anything like that. It was just a sort of a mini sort of investigation, and that. But hopefully, get out over the Christmas, get out of this routine of being in all the time and stuff like that, and just get out and enjoy myself. And I look forward to next year and pushing myself further out there because there's lots and lots of places in Ireland, folks, and we haven't touched on any of it. We touched on 0.5% possibly, you know. And when you think about it, when I look back on my channel, I only have a handful of proper investigations done, you know. Adults only on the title. You still have to class the video as made for kids or not made for kids. If you class your video as made for kids, you're kind of a little bit screwed because those videos will not have those personalized ads on it. You may have other ads on it, but you're going to lose 60% of ad revenue on a video that's not made for kids. Plus, you have your comments. There'll be no comments on that video, which means that those videos don't get out as much. Now, there is probably a lot of problems surrounding all that, and hopefully they'll iron them out and that. But the people were saying there should be a third option, like a general audience. Now, in a way, not made for kids is kind of general audience in a way, you know. So, first of all, when we heard the news about the use of bright colors and the use of certain words and stuff like that, I think that was an exaggerated thing, and people were jumping on the bandwagon and saying, "Gee, all our channels are all screwed in some sort of way." But I think for the majority of people, the audience is sort of a general audience, and you can go down to your analytics and see, what is the majority of your audience in your videos, and that is taken into account if a video is flagged as flagged as an issue with the FTC, they will go through your channel and see what is the general audience of this channel and stuff like that. But it's not, when something like that happens, the important thing is not to jump on the bandwagon and think it's another apocalypse. Because, very often when things like that happen, people think the worst straight away. I had the odd kid on my video, but a kid on my channel, but it was on earlier videos, you know. But generally, they don't come on the chat here. They don't come on the videos and stuff like that. It's not made for them. You know. uh, yeah, my audience is in the sort of 35 to 55, in that sort of brackets sort of thing. Not very much younger people watch. You know. Sandra saying hello to somebody. Sue. Hello, Sue. Yeah. Um, Christmas can. That's exactly how it feels. See, when you put up a comment on front here, I can actually see the thumbnail a lot better. The thumbnails are tiny in that. Yeah, it's a mug saying Christmas can fuck off. Agree with you totally. You know, people panicking and stuff like that. I hate this. The one thing I hate about this time of year, is this time last year I was doing a series called In Car Rant. It didn't do very well, so I decided I'd get rid of it, and that's where I put the camera in the car and drive about and just talk whatever is on my mind. And I done a Christmas rant. And Christmas rant done pretty okay. But I was bitching about people. You go into shops and they're going around with shopping trolleys and they'll just push right past you. And sometimes the manners goes completely out the window at Christmas because everybody's panicking to get stuff. And it's just one day. Way back years ago, we used to have to stock up on milk, and we wouldn't have enough to put in the fridge. But wintertime was cold enough that you could put some on the windowsill outside and that. But we were stocking up for a whole week because we didn't have shops open for a whole week of Christmas. Nowadays you'll have some shop around that will open on Christmas Day evening, and then the next day, St. Stephen's Day or Boxing Day, you have the Boxing Day sales. People are for way back in the day, and people are still in the habit of stockpiling, even though it's not. It's not a thing anymore where shops are closed for a whole week. I believe in ghosts. Long time no see. Hope you're okay. Easy peace. Yeah, way back years ago, the shops used to be closed for a whole week. And that. Yeah, deliveries. Deliveries is a big thing now. Shopping online and that. My friends do it and that. I should be doing it. I don't. You know, you order your stuff from Asda or Sainsbury's or whatever. Put on the list. Order it. Somebody, and they'll even bring it up the stairs for you. If you're living in an apartment block. Because when I go out, there's a limited amount I can carry up the stairs. And that's what's in my mind when I go out. What can I carry? And it's the stress of bringing it up 2 flights of stairs. Really, I should be on a ground floor or in a house, at this stage. Because my joints are very, very bad. Those were the days. Yeah, you had to stock up on everything. I mean, like the fridge was stuffed full, and there was milk stuffed into the fridge, and then there wasn't enough room in the fridge, and we used to put them out on the windowsill. and it wasn't plastic bottles that back then. It was the Tetra packs, and way back years ago, it was kind of like a pyramid Tetra packs, and they were just all lined up in the back window, you know, because you wouldn't have shops open, not even the small shops. And then, if you smoked, you had to buy piles and piles of cigarettes. But people have still got that habit from way back in time. And this is only sort of the 80s, the 70s and 80s and that. But still, people are still sometimes stockpiling at Christmas time, even though the shops are open the next day, you know. How could I have 24 people in the chat room just talking pure and utter rubbish? It's very embarrassing coming on live and have nothing to talk about. Because my plan A went out the window. I didn't want to do a whole spurt pop session on front of the camera here, Oh, Nikki's here. I don't know if I said hello to you earlier on, but hello. Um, yeah. But be interesting to see if we have some paranormal content over the Christmas. Possibly because of some of these. Watch Above Paranormal in 30 minutes, folks. That's the notification that I just got. And Above Paranormal is in the chat there somewhere. Yes, he's there. And they're doing their card reading thing in 30 minutes' time. So I'm not going to be on too long, and I'm going to go over there. And if you want to join me, go right ahead and click on Above Paranormal. They're doing the card readings tonight. After the card readings, usually a general chat, and it's usually very, very interesting. Those streams, when there's more than one person, there's a good conversation going rather than me, just, a person like me, just being on the camera and stuff like that. There's usually a very good conversation going on, and Brett is very good in communicating with the chat as well. So there's a great conversation goes on, and then there's other topics there. There's other lives there with certain topics and stuff like that. Very, very interesting, and very often sometimes people just watch the live, but these lives have got value in them because they've got great information and great discussion in them. And if you haven't seen some of those lives, have a watch. Have a watch. Actually, I've watched one or two of those lives where I've already was there when it was live and that, because they're very, very interesting and very, very interesting topics around the subjects and stuff like that. Yeah, Brett's very good at the card readings. I'm not massively into card readings, but he's very good at it. He is really, really good at it. And it's a hard job doing card readings for something like 10 people, 10 people on a session, it will go on for sort of an hour with the card readings and that, and then you go to your general chat and stuff like that. But he's very, very good at reading the cards. I have to say, it's one thing that I see. I went through a strict Catholic upbringing, and I was brought up to think that cards were bad. Now I know different now. And that's why I don't know anything about cards. But I recently been introduced to the cards through Brett's streams. I've been on other streams where they had angel cards and stuff. And actually, I think I have angel cards myself. With a book and stuff like that. I'm just sort of, I love the artwork on some of these card decks. They're absolutely fantastic. I've got a load of cards, but don't use anymore. That I don't use anymore. I think my card deck is just actually. that's the card deck that I actually have. Daily guidance from your angel oracle cards, and you got a book. The reason why I'm not doing live sessions with this is because I'm a really bad reader. But these are really, some of the artwork in some of these is absolutely fantastic. Here we go. There's one. The light is getting a bit of it, but you can see it there. You know, they're very, very colourful cards. They're really, really nice. Irish Whiskey Paranormal uses similar cards. I just love the artwork in them. I actually love that one. You can see it there. You know, they're very, very nice, and you know, they're very very colourful and artistic, like. You know, but that's them. Um, I think it was Unearthly Wanderings that I to be on Unearthly Wanderings, who is from Australia, and she was doing cards like this, and I wanted a deck of them cards, so I went and I bought them in my local crystal shop, you know. Well, Irish whiskey is still here, yeah. Yeah. I was on Unearthly Wanderings, and I seen these angel cards, and I decided, you know, I want them cards, even for the art, the artwork in themselves, absolutely beautiful. But I might in the future might do some readings on it. But do you know when you do the cards, and I seen, you know, uh, which with Irish whiskey and that, um, you know, you pick a card and you read a certain section of a book, and that me reading book in front of the camera live is a bit nerve wracking at the moment, so that's why I don't do it, you know. Um, and it's going, and it's going. I'm gonna wrap this up anyway. Happy Christmas, Anne, and happy Christmas to everybody. Actually, um, folks, I am going to sign off now because I'm going to have myself a nice cup of tea and get myself some biscuits for Brett's stream, which is coming up in about 20 minutes. 24 minutes, folks. So um, please go over to Brett's channel, give him some love, and I will. I will. I'm gonna sign off and say goodbye and happy Christmas to everybody, and thank you very, very much for all the support this year and the previous year. And I am very, very grateful and very, very thankful to everybody, you know, for their support. And you know, looking forward to this year and looking forward to learning more, because I'm only at the beginning of this. It's just the beginning of the journey. So looking forward to next year, folks. Right, folks, I'm gonna go and make myself a cup of tea, and I'm gonna go over to Above Paranormal's channel, with their live is happening almost in 20 minutes time. So I will see you over there. Goodbye.